Jimmy Hutchinson. We like to say lifelong friends or friends of David most of our lives. I first met David in the early summer of 1961. He and Jimmy had just graduated from Forest High School. I'd known Jimmy for a couple of years, and we happened to meet downtown that summer looking for a summer job. And the job was selling Collier encyclopedias. So the three of us started hanging out. We suffered from the syndrome that young men of our era had, and maybe somebody can help me remember what it's called. I call it, I guess, the chemical syndrome, which for young men consisted of gasoline, alcohol, and perfume. We somehow always scraped together enough for gas for our nightly excursions. Being underage, we were somewhat successful procuring beer. At catching girls, we weren't very successful at all. We three were best buddies. Over the next few years, we hung out in the summer, even worked together, partied over holidays, acquired girlfriends, wives, and children. We always kept in touch and got together when we could. The friendship still endures. Dave liked to tease us about pocket protectors. Yeah, the car, get my card out of there. Being a nerdy engineering student, I always had a pocket protector. In 1967, I don't know if Claudia will remember this, they gave me a hand-drawn birthday card. And I have it here to show you. And it was a depiction of me driving my 65 Hot Rod Plymouth, wearing a pocket protector, and showing a bottle of Bacardi Light rum. Here's to you, Dave. Jimmy's going to tell the best story of all, his version of how they met Claudia.
Oh, baby, here we go.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for letting me share this celebration of David's life with all of you. And I know very few of you, but I'm really not surprised how many friends David has been able to make over his life and keep. And so now I guess I'll...
Jimmy, hold it a little closer, buddy.
Yeah, I'll David, you know I'm irreverent. I'm going to set the record straight somewhat, or fill in the gaps on how they met. Claudia's gone over it, and I'm sure it's 100% accurate. I've got an abridged version, which is also embellished somewhat. So here we go. In the spring of 1962, I believe it was, David comes into town, calls me up and says, Jimmy, he says, we're going down to Daytona spring break. We're going to go down there and find some women. I heard the place is crawling. So we took off in the car. We went down there. We rode around for a while, scoped the area out. It got dark. We parked. We found these four lovely, stunning, sophisticated women. And like any college guys of our age and time, we invited them back to the car for a little nip.
I didn't tell that part. I've never heard that part.
Who's telling this story? So anyway, then we got acquainted for a little while. It wasn't very long, just 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We got acquainted, and the spokesperson of the group pretty much said, hey, we got to be moving on. It was like, she was saying, we got other fish to fry, or mullet to fry. So anyways, they took off, and I'm looking out there, and I said, man, what lovely, sophisticated ladies these are. David leaned over and he said, don't get too carried away. He says, they stole our liquor. Wow. I don't know much about these, but I know one thing. That says the gang leader there is that Claudia Brown. Claudia Brown name because in the 8th grade, there was a girl in my class named Claudia Brown. That's lovely, very nice. And so at any rate, we headed back home, and this is part of the story. This is one of those life-saving stories. We were coming back, it's raining, and David and I both knew about this real sharp on-ramp to the interstate, but the two fellows from Georgia, they didn't know. We told them to slow down, they slowed down, not enough. Make a long story short, we went spinning out. Of course, David could foresee that, being Uncle Safety. He was braced in that car like, an I-beam. And I'm flopping around, and he grabs me, keep me from shattering my brains all over the inside. He saved my life. That turns out to be an important point here. Real important to me right now. And anyway, we're gonna move forward a little bit. Some months later, David comes into town. I'm working, and he comes in about noon on Saturday, calls me up and says, hey, let's do something. I said, well, I got a date. I says, get you a date and we'll double date. He said, well, okay. I said, well, come on over. We'll make some calls and we'll come up with a plan. So he called some and I called some and we couldn't find anybody. So I'm thinking, you remember those girls we lived down in I know one of them's name was Claudia Brown. He said, yeah, what about? I said, well, let's call. She said she was from Jacksonville Beach, if that was a real name, surely. Surely she gave us her real name. Anyway, so he said, okay. So we opened up the phone book, and God, there was like 100 Browns in there. And he said, oh man, that ain't gonna work. And I said, well, stick with us here a minute. Look at here, here's an Asa right here. Let's dial that. Ring, ring, hello. I said, let me speak to Claudia. Just a minute. Here she comes. So anyways, we talked back and forth, and I could tell she was intrigued. She was wondering what two losers were calling her. And so, make a long story short, we made an arrangement. She said, I'll only go if I can bring my friend Ann. So here we are with one date too few turned into one date too many. So, make a long story short, I broke my date. We all went out to the beach. Claudia filled that in fairly accurately. And so, let's see, where am I now? So she's met, they dated, they got married, lived happily ever after, etc. But I had a couple of footnotes, and if I can remember them, I'm going to tell them to you. Let's see here. I don't know. I should have written it down. I do know this. One of the footnotes is this. It says, I'm pretty sure that as time went by, Claudia got out of her liquor stealing. I'm pretty sure. In fact, that was one of the reasons I told David we ought to call him. I said, she's probably got a big stash of liquor. That's what I missed. At any rate, but she changed from liquor stealing to heart stealing. She stole one that she did not ever give back, and that was David's. And he was so happy for it, and we were so happy for y'all. And thank you for having us in with you today.